Murderas Sayin. Okay, so Robert, you want to start with the intro there? I'll just sing from the sentence. Murderas Sayin. Murderas talking. Annihilation. Virus course. Capitalism's time. Die today. We won't die. For the economy. Billionaires knocking. No more than half. Annihilation. Famine's downsizing. Talking about annihilation. Coming for your teacher. Coming for grandma. Coming for the grocer. Your papa, your mama. We are in a position